A whole new season is upon us. It has been so long since I got to talk to anybody. And what better to start off the season than with the director of the Pittsburgh Division, Cory Herschk. Welcome back to the show.
Daniel, thanks for having me, man. It's exciting. Let's go. Fun weekend.
Yeah,
Beautiful sky here in Pittsburgh. Sun shining. Let's hope that keeps up for tomorrow.
I certainly hope for good weather. But we got a lot of catching up to do. So let's start off with what have you been doing in the off season? What's been going on? Catch us up.
Working. I have a wife and 2 kids. I'm a school teacher as well. So once the Milek Cup ended in September, I was already into the full swing of things with school and being a director of hockey operations for USA Ball Hockey and the head coach of the men's US team. We were already working on projects and working on the next level of certification for both referees and for coaches, and continuing to partner up with rinks around the country to help support them, programs that are just beginning youth hockey, programs that have had some adult hockey and wanted to be sanctioned, making sure we prepare for the Future Stars event, which is coming up in August in Buffalo, as well as organizing the NBHL Pittsburgh Division. So the off season has been a lot of organizing and a lot of conversations and networking throughout the country just to continue to grow our game.
And speaking of championships, you got the World Championships coming up in Canada in June, if I'm correct. So, and you've been busy searching for players to make up the national team. So, how's that process going?
Yeah, every player that's on our national team has played for some franchise in the NBHL, which is pretty cool. I would say that the majority of the recruiting came from tournament season, because men's high club level hockey is the highest level closest to the international play. So we recruited and scouted at the Milek Cup as well. Some players stood out and some players were introduced to our staff at that event. And then we were watching Pittsburgh at the end of October. And after Pittsburgh was over, we took down a list of about 75 guys, narrowed it down to, I think we're at 42. We invited those 42 players to Harrisburg in January, had our official full day tryout. And I wanted to see who was really committed as well. It's a big deal when you're traveling overseas or you're traveling to Montreal. You want to make sure you get guys not just to verbally commit, but actually do show that they care and come to the event. And unfortunately, a couple guys couldn't make it because of personal matters last minute or COVID related reasons. But the bulk of who we asked that committed right away came and put on a good show for us, made our job really, really difficult to narrow down the group to 24 runners that we have right now. 22 runners and 2 goaltenders that we have right now.
So that's an additional benefit from just being at the Milek Cup, even if it's not just to win the biggest trophy in ball hockey, but to get international recognition. I mean, that's a big part of it. So, so when you were looking at all the teams, like, what exactly were you looking for? What is needed to be at that caliber?
You got to look for ball possession. Players that are really good with ball possession. Our sport thrives on it. A lot of it's rushed at the lower level play where players get it off their stick quickly, have their heads down, make errant decisions. We always talk about the play you make now matters 3 plays later. So who's able to have that kind of IQ, who's able to see that floor, who's got the wide range of vision to be able to make not only the play now, but help it lead to the play later. So we're always looking for guys who are really good with the hockey ball. Speed helps, because it's a fast game when you're playing against the Slovaks, the Czechs. Canada's added some speed. The Finns are fast. Switzerland's fast. And those are teams, countries, I should say, aside from Canada, who play regularly and they train regularly. I mean, it's, you live in Slovakia. It's almost as if you're in one state here in the United States. So it's like a state all-star team, so to speak. But so they get to travel with each other and play together a lot more often. So we're also looking for players who are familiar with each other. So when we're going to try to set up our lineup, we want to take kind of note of what the Canadian teams did throughout the years that they were winning gold medals, and that was to take nucleuses of teams, maybe a group of 5 from the top team they used to take, or a group of 10 from their national champion, a group of 5 from their runner-up. Now, we didn't do it exactly like that, but we tried to go with players who were familiar with each other in hopes that they do fit on the same line. They can work out together in the office. They can start to plan weekend mini camps in several locations before we go ahead and play our camp together is April 30th as a full team. So, I mean, those are some of the things we're looking for. Speed helps. Ball possession is a big deal. IQ can see the rink. Guys who are going to commit to getting themselves in shape, because you have to be a track team out there to be able to compete. And by track, I mean the fastest team. It's a marathon for sure.
And you certainly have had a very, very busy time looking for players. But let's get into the actual NBHL action. Now, you got a lot of teams coming back. Of course, we got the defending champions appearing. We got the Pioneers. And we also have a tier 2 division now in Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh has had a reputation for having some of the best players in ball hockey. And for those who have not seen the new divisions, a few changes. Now, you may have noticed that in tier 1, North Hills Militia, not there, but they have moved down to the tier 2 division. So if you're a fan of the Militia, they're still around, but they will have to play up against 9 other teams. That is a lot of teams. Not the biggest we ever had, but that's a lot to get through. So what can you tell us about the tier 2 division?
That's a great start. We were playing midway through last year in tier 1, and we had a couple of different people reach out and just say, are you guys going to expand next year? We'd love to get a team going into a tier 2 division. And I can see this eventually going into tier 3 as well. There's a women's division here in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is just a hotbed for ball hockey, for hockey in general. You could blame Mario Lemieux for that. And then, of course, Yager, Crosby, Malkin. So it is why it is what it is, right? We have weekends after weekends where the youth are playing. There's a weekend tournament right now, or there's a tournament going on right now. I think it's 3 different locations. So we didn't think it would be a problem to expand out. I can also see tier 2 growing. I can see a team, I have no idea who's going to finish top in tier 2. I couldn't even tell you who the top 5 teams are right now. We have an idea based on some players who played in tier 1 and may have traveled with some higher end club teams and are on a few of the tier 2 teams, but it's going to be wide open. It's going to be fun to watch them compete to earn those 6 playoff spots and then try to make it to the Miley Cup. We had our Zoom call the other night with all of the team reps and the referees so that all of us were on the same page. And it ended with one of them saying, let's get tier 1 back to the finals, and let's get tier 2 in the finals and hope to bring that home too. Yeah. So players are really excited. I was surprised. We started off around 18 tier 2 teams. Everyone was really gung ho. We even had a team from Erie considering coming down. I think one of the Erie teams is going to play in the Buffalo division, which makes sense. But there was a team considering coming down from Erie, and it dwindled down to the 10 we have now, which is a good number for us.
And even though that we can't make an early prediction as to who's going to take advantage of the tier 2 division, we've had a poll out as far as the new logos for each of them. And people love the Bloomfield Meatballs, which is a very unique name. So do you have any idea where that came from?
Yeah. So the Bloomfield is a neighborhood in Pittsburgh, in the city of Pittsburgh, and it's like Little Italy. It's our version of Little Italy. Tons of people throughout the years have immigrated from Italy to bring that neighborhood the culture that it has right now. They have Bloomfield days or Italian days are full. The streets are packed with vendors and what have you, and of course they love their food, right? So Meatballs was a fitting name for it. Started off funny and then got serious when they start advancing past some really there are great logos out there across the country. It's crazy how cool some of these logos are and unique some of these logos are. But I told Todd Levy, who runs the Bloomfield Meatballs, the other day, it's the headband, man. The headband brought the victory to the Meatballs. So it was a fun little March Madness aside from the basketball tournament to watch. I think some people were in our hockey world were more into the logo competition than they were the actual basketball competition. So it was cool. It's fun. And again, some of the Pittsburghers are bragging that they won the logo contest too. So for Pittsburghers, it was another cool small victory.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is definitely the city to be watching this year with the Miley Cup going to the Imperium. Now, of course, we are expecting the Imperium to be just as fierce as they've been last year. But I got a feeling that they're going to be running into some very good competition. And one team I have my eye on this year is the Penn Hills Battalion, with the likes of Vinny Tuminello and Sean O'Connor, both of them in the 20-point range. And so I got a feeling that they could make things difficult for the Imperium. What do you say?
Yeah, I think there are a few teams that can make it difficult for the Imperium. Vinny is a great hockey player. Shauno had an incredible season last year. And if he can continue his scoring threat, then yeah, I can see Battalion being right there. They've added Justin Donovan as well, who was a player selected for the U.S. national team. He's another good player. He played for the Governors last year. The Governors, a lot of the Governors guys actually play on that Bloomfield meatball team. But you know, they don't have a franchise any longer in Tier 1. But so Dunny jumped on with his Penn Hills buddies and is going to play for Battalion. So they'll be a good team. Pioneers went out and grabbed some players who haven't played a lot of consistent A club league hockey lately, and they're back in the mix. They grabbed Eddie McDonough, Aaron Hahn, so they'll be a good hockey team as well. Showstoppers have taken some of the top scorers from the Governors. Drew Albright's made a move over there. Josh Faust is going to play on that team. They've got some really good young players, and Michael Felsing and Chase Malloy. So just as much as Battalion's made some improvements to the roster, Showstoppers and Pioneers have as well. We've got the new Guardians team, who are young as ever, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, mixed with a couple of veterans that are on the U.S. Masters team. AIT's goaltenders, one of the top goaltenders last year, and Sean Bednar, he'll be their goaltender. And so they're going to be tough to beat as well. And the Warbirds just keep on playing together as a unit, and the more and more you play together, and they travel as a club team, the more chemistry you build and the more of a love you begin to develop for each other. So they're going to be giving teams fits as well. I don't know at this point. I couldn't tell you. Even if we were a couple games into it, I probably still wouldn't be able to tell you who was going to win. But I know that there's going to be a lot of teams. It's going to be a heavy 6-team division for sure.
It certainly will be. But now let's get into what everyone wants to hear about, the Milet Cup Championship. Now, I know you're no stranger to being at tournaments where you're seeing teams all across the country and are all across the world, in fact. So what's the atmosphere like when you head to New Jersey and see all these teams competing for the biggest prize in ball hockey?
Yeah, I think it was Ricky LaPerriere and Anthony LaPerriere of Milek who were chatting with me from the Milek tent to the USA Ball Hockey tent. And we were chatting about how it's truly the first time, and any of us can remember, if ever, you had what felt like a national championship, because teams were legitimately from all over. California, Seattle, you had the Buffalo teams there, you had the DC teams there, you had the Providence was there from Rhode Island. So it was a really unique environment just for that alone, to see not just the best of the best from the NBHL come together, which was cool in itself, but to see that everybody committed to the travel. All the teams were all in, the players showed up. And so that adds to a new element of a family type atmosphere. We always talk about ball hockey being a family like community, and getting to see people that you hear about or you see stats on, you see the highlights of, and getting a chance to mingle with them was really cool. Having those three rinks all side by side, almost interconnected, allowed for you to just turn your head left to right. You got a chance to see some really good hockey. We saw some females playing with some of the male teams. So this year going around, it's going to be neat to see a women's division and see them compete as well. We had the youth involved last time as well with the Milet Cup a year ago, almost a year ago in September. We had the youth clinic going on. So it was really, really awesome to see the U.S. men's national team players, some of the women's national team players be able to give back to kids. So you mix that in with some food trucks and some music, and it was a time that I would imagine everyone wants to try to show up for this year in September.
And we're going to be having a lot more championships this year. We have tiers 1 and 2. We've added tier 3, and of course, as you already mentioned, the women's division. We're going to have 4 different championships at one time. But as far as last year, were you expecting an all Pittsburgh final in tier 1?
No, that was a surprise to a lot of people. I mean, well, I shouldn't say a surprise to a lot of people. I think a lot of people do understand that hockey is just as big here as it is in Massachusetts. And I thought that we could have seen a Mass team in it. I thought that a New Jersey team or two could have participated in the final as well. I can't even say it's about matchups at this point, because no one is really familiar with each other. It was the first time these franchises played against one another. So you can't say that a rivalry had developed or that there would be a bad matchup necessarily when you really just don't have a clue. We don't get to watch Massachusetts week after week. We don't get a chance to see Jersey week after week. We know what we have to offer, And there's some top players on both the Pioneers and Imperium teams. So we're happy for the city of Pittsburgh. We're happy for ball hockey in Pittsburgh. We're happy for those two franchises in general. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people weren't necessarily surprised. I myself, I thought that we'd see I thought a Mass team might make it after watching, the Crooks play throughout the weekend. I could have seen the Crooks in the final. Leading up to, I think, the very last game of the day, I think the Dogs could have probably made it as well. I know Johnny Ruiz didn't make it to a playoff game. That didn't help their team, but they're still a phenomenal hockey team. So yeah. Once again, it'll be fun to watch this September because the door will be wide open.
Now, when both teams learned that they were going to be basically a rematch of the divisional championship, what was the feeling of both teams? It's like, did you see something in them? Like, was there something different in their eyes?
No, maybe a little tired on the Pioneers side. They were a little banged up throughout the weekend, and they knew it was going to be difficult to match the speed of Imperium after being hurt a little bit. Imperium that was probably the most focused I've seen Imperium all year long. They didn't talk too much. They showed up with their sticks and their legs all weekend long. And so, no, it was probably the quietest start to a game, I would say, that those two teams had, but they also knew each other pretty well. And I think both teams were happy just to be there. It was like a honeymoon stage with it being the first Milek Cup and both Pittsburgh teams being in it. I think both teams would have been, were happy to be there in that situation. But I know there's a bit of a distaste now. Pioneers want to get even, and they're going to kick off our division here in the Tier 1 tomorrow. They'll be the first Tier 1 game while we present Imperium with their well-deserved banner and raise it onto the bleachers at Penn Hills Rink.
And we will be there to cover that. But that final was not only big for Pittsburgh, it was also big for ball hockey in general. The game got featured on NHL Network. I mean, what's it like to have that kind of publicity?
It's nice to have people at the NHL Network like Dan Colwell love this sport as much as we do. Because if it wasn't for a guy like that, seeing in this game, believing in this game, he's the head coach of the Phoenixville Graphics. He's now also the division director in North Jersey. Just spoke to him before I talked to you. He's super excited. Long Island's taking a team to play in the North Jersey division. So he's bringing ball hockey to a grander scale in North Jersey. And it's great to have someone as high as he is, and as he's a champion in his own right in the work he does. He's won Emmys after Emmys for what he produces at both Major League Baseball Network, NHL Network. And so to have a guy like that love our sport, believe in our sport as much, be able to pitch it to the rest of the folks at the NHL Network, and them also take a look at it and say, yeah, this is pretty cool. Let's put it on. We got some time, and to make time for us, even if they've done that time and time again. They ran highlights of the men and women's international U.S. teams in 2019. We're in Slovakia, and it was every game. It wasn't just one game. They ran highlights of every game. It was like, you're watching the NHL Network to catch up on what your favorite team was doing, the Bruins, the Red Wings, you name it. But you would catch, the USA highlights as well. And that's all kudos to him and the believers in us at NHL Network. And they've done interviews. Recently, they interviewed Nick Carter and Steve Gregory of our U.S. national team. Steve Gregory runs the Pioneers, captain of that team. Nick Carter as well, another big-time player out in Massachusetts. So, yeah, it's another step for our sport. We've got a lot more work to do and a little longer to go before we can become recognized like we do as an official sport here in the States. And but we're getting there.
And I did get to see that segment. It does put into a different perspective when you compare the sports of ice hockey and ball hockey. I mean, they are similar, but when you are handling a ball instead of a puck, the mechanics are pretty much different. And I've had people in my local league tell me, like, even just your technique on shooting the ball is that much different from a puck. So that really shows a different perspective of the game.
Yeah, and one that the majority of the country, especially the ice hockey world, hasn't become familiar with, but more and more are becoming familiar with it. NHL is very, very big and involved with what they're doing in their program called NHL Street, where they're putting sticks and balls in hands of kids at the elementary level and in areas that don't have ball hockey or never had ball hockey or don't have even an ice hockey team. I believe the next time they perform their program or run their program, they're going to do it in a town in Wisconsin. So, yeah, people are beginning to see that there is a good connection and a parallel to ice hockey, and how we've always told kids that are at the youngest of age, parents, I should say, when their kids are younger, teach them how to play the game of hockey first, teach them how to skate, and you can put the two together. And this is a great way to learn.
All right, let's wrap this up with this. With a whole new season coming up, I think I already know what the answer is going to be, but what is going to be the goal of the Pittsburgh Division this year?
Win the Milet Cup. It's going to be the goal of every division. And of course, it's no different from ours. Bring it back home and raise another banner opening day in 2023.
And I mean, I guess as the Pittsburgh director, I don't think you really care who gets it. You just want another cup.
Honestly, I am looking forward to just seeing more players emerge across the country. I look forward to seeing more teams develop, which I'm seeing now. We've seen Knights Watch, which was an NBHL team who played at a lower tier in club play, now coming to our club championships here to play in the highest level. They just played in North Americans at the highest level. So that's what I'm looking forward to. More players playing the game. I'm looking forward to more stars shining. We've seen some young players, even on Mojo, put on a show and make a name for themselves. And then you see Mojo move up to now the Tier 1 division in New Jersey. So I'm looking forward to that. Whoever wins the Milet Cup, for me, it doesn't matter if it's Pittsburgh as much as it is Massachusetts, New Jersey. I'm always rooting for the good people of the game. I'm always rooting for the best teams to be able to put on a good show and stay healthy, because that's the hardest thing to do during a season, especially a competitive season, is to stay healthy. And so that's what I wish everybody out there is a fun season, competitive season, good health.
And we will certainly have a lot more. We had 72 teams last season. We've more than doubled that this season. There's going to be a whole lot more of that. Cory Herschk, thank you so much for coming on. It's great to see you again. And let's have ourselves a great season.
Too, Daniel. Thanks for having me.